Okay, hello and welcome everybody. I am honoured to be joined today by Jennifer Hartman, that is zooming in all the way from Canada, I believe. Is that correct, Jennifer? Just to clarify my geography.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm honoured to have Jennifer Hartman here, author, just to chat about paganism and families and some of Jennifer's work, some of which I am familiar with and I will be mentioning. I personally got to know about Jennifer's work through originally the Kickstarter. I think it was this book here. There you go. There will bit of product placement for you there. It's Summer Soul, which is a fantastic book around Midsummer, which then led me on to the wonderful book, which we read all year round because my son likes it. It is Old Mother Frost. So thank you for writing those books. We'll learn more about those in a moment, I guess. But thanks, Jennifer. And I think to start off with, could you tell us a bit about who is Jennifer Hartman? So tell us a bit about you and kind of your journey to where you are today.
I guess I'm the person behind the brand. I'm very much just pegging kids on social media. I try not to show my face too much because it's become bigger than me. That's for sure. So Jennifer Hartman started off this whole journey pregnant with my first son. And yeah, I was kind of irritated because I couldn't find any pre-Christian origin tales of Yule. And I grew up with my mom. My mom's first generation Swedish. And she brought me up with Yule and a lot of origin stories, but she never used the word pagan. And we were kind of just starting to get into saying spiritual back in the 90s, 2000s. So paganism as a term wasn't something I found until halfway through my research for Old Mother Frost. And that was a journey through history and origins and led to pagan kids because I was everywhere online. I found academia.edu to try to get some papers going. I had people in Swedish communities refer me to groups like Heathen Women United and a few other pages, which again, wow, okay, heathen is a term, pagan is a term, Norse pagan is a term. So I kind of went through everything there. So I guess my path started with trying to get to the old stories, the old legends, the forgotten tales that have been buried with layers of Christianity, I guess. And there's nothing wrong with Christianity in my perspective. It's really hard to uncover secrets when they've been covered up for so long. So from there, fun facts came out. I was telling people about these cool little ideas, and they really liked that, especially when it came to Yule in a Swedish perspective. That came before that, and so over time, everything's kind of evolved to be a educational platform, and my love for history is definitely showing through everything. If I need a little bit more information, there's these blogs that are out there, but they're made as simply as possible. So I might go through 3 months of picking apart studies just to make it into a 3-minute blog that people can understand. But yeah, it all, I guess at its core, it started with me trying to provide a traditional story for my son.
Fantastic.
And now I've got 2 kind of Swedish and Germanic based stories, and I've got one for toddlers based on Norse myths. I think in the UK it's available at Northern Black Oak. Fantastic company. They have a little online shop there, and makes it so much cheaper to get. In the States, it's on Amazon, and then through me, you kind of have to message me directly if you want it in Canada.
Excellent. And the title of that book, just to remind us?
Yeah, that one is called Who's That in the Sky? And
Excellent.
it's for little babies, so it's only about 6 pages, and it'll teach you about the lesser known gods of the sky, and the elements of the day. So you've got the dawn, sunrise, evening, no, afternoon, evening, and then night. And then I also throw in a little legend. Well, it's not really a legend, but there's a star, and he's a hero in one of the sagas. But it's all the different elements. And
Fantastic.
yeah,
Excellent. And so what was your first book then? Was that Old Mother Frost? You said that's kind of the research you were doing. And what drew you to Old Mother Frost in particular?
A big chain of events. So at first, it was supposed to be the origins behind Santa Lucia being a martyr, like my mom told me, which led to Lady Diana, Queen of Heaven, and eventually Frauhor, which is like the Germanic goddess who takes care of children, might ride in the wild hunt, depending on what era, but she's a very prominent folklore goddess. So eventually through everything, I found her, and she seems to be at the baseline of many goddesses. So there's a lot of I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but etymological
sounds right to me.
ties. Yeah. There's a lot of ties to her, which is really fascinating because you've got different goddesses similar to her throughout all of Scandinavia, Germany, Russia, the Ukraine, like everything. So, and even Italy, there's one that's very similar to her in Italy as well.
Fantastic. So you've got those roots. You mentioned Frau Holler in the book. It's Mother Hulda. Is that correct in the book? Fantastic.
Right.
Yes.
So it's supposed to be Frau Holler. She's also known as Mother Hulda. After putting it out there during the Kickstarter, a lot of people liked Old Mother Frost. It seemed to really
Nice.
pin it down for the English-speaking people to kind of tell you what it is. But the picture on the front is very iconic to who she is.
Excellent. Fantastic. So you did the books, then clearly you had the educational element, and you said people were interested in that. And obviously I'm a member of the Children and Families team at Pagan Federation, so we've got that in common. That part of, I think, is what's important is trying to educate, because there is some things out there, but there typically in the past has been a lack of resource. So it's great to see that you've got the website up there, pagankids.org, I believe it is, with some resources on there as well. So for you then, what is the importance of that educational process to kind of help pagan family life, basically?
I think, well, making it simple, making it accessible, but also cutting through all the noise, I think is very important. A lot of times people put their UPG in, so like their independent practices into what they're writing about. And it's very easy to do in the New Age circle. But I like to try to connect it with the pre-Christian historical elements as well, which is something that I find is becoming more and more popular. Is we've already unraveled it to something older, but now we're going even further to that, towards more of an ancient time. And I feel like I'm just like peeling layers of secrets back and really sharing it. And at that point, it's like, okay, so we have this information. This is what we know for sure. If you're celebrating the new age, uh, the new age observations, these are some of the ways that Nordic or Norse pagans will celebrate it. So when it comes to the Wheel of the Year, you can't deny that there's a brilliant spiritual connection with nature. There's a lot of symbology there that we can really connect with, and most of us start with the Wheel of the Year. And then I also connect the old ways. So I really enjoy being able to tie in both aspects of new age and old ways, but clarifying what's factual and what's not, and what comes from.
Excellent. Yeah. So everybody's entitled obviously to their own spiritual practices and those things, and UPG, or is it unverified personal gnosis, just to clarify, I think what UPG stands for. And so people have their own ideas, and that's great. But I've noticed, I think you've got a Facebook as well, and I've noticed you've posted quite a bit about some of the new rune stones that were found recently in Scandinavia, and some of that cool history stuff. So I could see that you're pairing the spirituality side with the historical elements as well.
Yeah, my Facebook profile, Jennifer Hartman, is just me. Some people find it, and that's just where I get really geeky and nerdy, and I don't care about making it super basic and super simple. But then I've got my Facebook page, which is also Pagan Kids, which is more or less the same as Instagram, except the link is a lot easier to click. And then there's the Instagram, which has been really popular. I just got to 10,000 followers today, which is
well, congratulations.
Big
Milestones met.
Yeah, it's been 4 years in the
making. Excellent. And so you've got the, obviously you do a lot of work individually, so is that kind of you and your family, or what's the kind of community like for pagan paths generally in Canada, but specific to you, I guess, would be more Norse pagan. But is there much of a pagan community in Canada that you've noticed?
It seems to be growing a lot. Again, this wasn't something I was familiar with at all until I started all of my research. There was kind of a spiritual movement starting 10, 15 years ago. Back in when I lived in Ontario, but nobody really called themselves pagan or spiritual. And I didn't know anybody observed the summer solstice except for me and a handful of Swedes who did their midsummer. And then when I came to Nova Scotia, I was already doing Pagan Kids, and I connected a lot with some people here, especially in the Nova Scotia Pagan Assembly of Nova Scotia, and I've done some podcasts with them, and they're mostly a conglomerate of many pagan paths, Druidism with the ADF.
Okay.
I hope I'm saying the right one.
It is one, so it is one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they've got like almost every path, and there's not a lot of Nordic pagans here. I find because there's been a bad association with them over the last 20 to 30 years. So they've been present here, and Nova Scotia is well, it's an entire province that was pretty much founded by Scots and Germans. So, so you've got a lot of the folklore that came with everybody, which is really cool. And the whole culture, you can still kind of feel what came with everybody. So it's really nice to still feel the culture. Almost everybody in Canada knows that they're first, second, or fourth generation Canadian, and they're still like attached to their background. And because it's coming from Scotland or from Germany, you get a lot of the folklore, the legends coming through. So it's really cool to see and be part of. Yeah.
Excellent. That's cool. And so do you have kind of a regular practice, or is Do you have a daily routine, or is it just kind of just part of your life generally? How do you, what's the word I'm looking at? How does your spirituality, I guess, manifest in your life, like your own practice and your family generally?
In my youth, it was everywhere. I was kind of a weirdo, and I'm glad there's other weirdos like
Weren't
me.
we all?
But yeah, it used to be part of everything. I'd stop at trees. I'd notice like even just the air, the wind, and how it was communicating with me. And there's so much of that I never told anybody about because I figured I was weird, but I was connecting with the world around me. As I've gotten older, it's been harder to try to disconnect from the adult life and your
Mm,
responsibilities, and children and whatnot. And this past summer was the first time I actually felt like like most people have a midlife crisis, and it's got something to do with material objects or aging. And for me, it was like, oh, I can't feel the grass talk to me. And it wasn't just the grass, it was everything else. Like just my connection with earth just seemed to have quieted for a little bit. And that's not really discussed much in the Nordic context, in the
mm,
Nordic path, until Nordic animism started becoming bigger, I guess, in the last 2 years.
yeah.
And that's very much like uh, personifying nature, which has resonated with me a lot. I really like that I can connect my two paths now through that way. Um, Throughout the year, I get together with like the Grove, and we do the Wheel of the Year celebrations, which is really nice. They have their rituals, and they're incorporating Nordic practices into those, which is really,
Brilliant.
really nice to be part of. The kids kind of do their own thing. We don't really want to force anything on them. They should be free to make their own choices. But we do, personally, my family, at home, we do a lot of private practices for the old ways. So there's three major bloats, and for those, it's usually you've got your feast, you invite your ancestors, and we do a fire. We're in the military community here, so we're not allowed to have real bonfires, but I've got this cookie tin of like wax and fat that I light on fire, and it goes up this high. It's my way to have my ritual fire. And I've got another family nearby as well now, so usually we'll do the fire over at her house, and then we'll do our offering to our ancestor spirits. So it
Fantastic.
really just connects it all, and that practice is super important to me because um, I've always felt very attached to my grandmother, my great grandmother. My mom's got stories about 7 grandmothers past, and so it's been really important to us. So
Excellent.
that I can incorporate my mom in on these things, but when my dad's around, I try to tone it down a little bit.
And so, and so on that then, with the things you do during the year, and you mentioned you have the three main points that you celebrate. Do you have a favorite time of the year that you enjoy the celebrations of?
So the most of the major ones are they're in the fall, winter, and spring. My favorite one would probably be Yule, mostly because I grew up with it, so it has a warm space in my heart. So that one is connected with so many traditions that just go back for as long as my family can remember stories from families. But as far as the cultural traditions go, Midsummer would be my most favorite because it's so lighthearted, fun and goofy. And that also, I've been celebrating that my entire life, before I even realized it was a solstice. And then it became so much more important when I realized what was happening with the universe at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's that one, I think, is, you can lower your inhibitions a little bit and just be you, where you is, you're honoring everything that has made you you.
Well, I'd actually like to thank you when it comes to Midsummer, because it's always been, one of my favorite periods of the year anyway. It's warm. I love the winter as well, to be fair. But it's a nice warm time of year. We can get out. We do a lot of hiking. I've got hills just over here, so we can do a lot of hiking. It's great. But I was unaware of some of the midsummer events, for example, in Sweden until Midsummer Sol. And I did some research off the back of reading the book, and I now have that song fixed in my head. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then read Midsummer Soul and then do some research. But the Midsummer Festival with the uwakakak, uwakakak, and the
Yeah.
dance, and was, something. Frogs, I believe. Frogs and pigs.
Yeah, little frogs and little pigs. As soon as you say it, as soon as you start listening to it, it is stuck in your head. I wish I was a better singer, because now I'm gonna have to sing it for storytellings. But that one, like, I'm going to have to get the Grove together to do it with the kids around Midsummer Sang. So they've actually got a maypole, and we'll change it around a little bit. So
Excellent.
it doesn't have the ribbons for Beltane, but it'll be more traditional, I guess. And yeah, it's all about making fun, again, making fun of frogs and pigs. And you just make these funny little gestures, and you just jump and leap, and it's goofy, like, as I was saying, it's just a fun experience. And yeah, the kuakaka, you can't help but laugh. Kuakaka, kuakaka, kuakaka. And it's, it's stuck in your head once you start doing it.
Yeah. Well, me and my 7-year-old had a great deal of fun. We put the song on. I think I found one that had been videoed in Sweden on YouTube, and we did the dance. So it was fun. So thank you very much for that. Have you got any plans then? Because Imbolc, right now, that's the period of time. Is there anything that you're doing at the moment that is linked to this festival?
Goodness, I wish. I get home really late. I'm hoping we'll do something for the full moon. I really like tying in an Imbolc ritual coming up with my friends soon. But as far as Imbolc goes, I think the only part of me right now that's really stirring are the twins in my own belly. I get really, really tired really fast these days. But I think at the very least, we'll try to make some buttermilk pancakes, and explain to my son, now that he's 4 years old and can comprehend these sort of things, the significance of us being halfway through winter and what's happening in the ground and with nature. So at least we've got little stories like that and around a table. And then for Deesting, we usually do something larger for the ancestors, which is normally the setting an empty plate out on the table and inviting our ancestors to feast with us, and just trying to talk about their memory and what we plan to do this year. And with this year being the lunar solar leap year. It's also the year of Own for the Nordic animists out there. And that's really big because historically it only happens every 8 years. It's tied with a lot of ancient rituals. It changes the date of the Yule moon a little bit for the pre-Christian heathens out there. And really what the focus on with that is to go out there and make the world a better place for your community and for your children, and to put your own vanity aside. So usually every year around November, I take part in Restore Midgard, where you go out and you do your own community cleanup. And usually it's just me and my son. And he gets really into finding garbage.
Every
At
little
least for
helps,
half an
though.
hour. Yeah, at least for half an hour. And then he's like, oh, my garbage. And then I have to go and run all over the place to do it. But at least we're cleaning up the neighborhood. And but for everything else as well, even just my social media presence, I'm trying to be a lot more optimistic and trying to help change the perspective of other people who are just so used to complaining or gatekeeping or whatever. And my whole goal behind my social media presence to begin with is not being judgmental, not telling anybody what to practice and what not to practice, and just reminding people to keep an open mind and don't be judgmental of people. So
Brilliant.
Hopefully this year I can inspire more people to do it, and not based off of one person doing it, but because it is the year long.
Excellent. Commendable. So well, that leads me on, like the next thing, we're nearing the end of our time here. So do you have any upcoming projects that's, you know, even just the seeds of an idea that you're thinking about?
I do have seeds of well, I have a few seeds, and there's one that I've already started working on. Not sure if I'm ready just yet, but I guess I'm working on doing another Yule book, but for the pre-Christian side of things, so that way children will have kind of the cultural element that I've made with Frau Hole. And Frau Hole is, of course, Old Mother Frost. She is pre-Christian. She's older than Odin, most of the other gods, most gods. So she's got that pre-Christian element, but that book is still very cultural. Same with Midsummer Soul. It's very cultural, and with the pre-Christian goddess element in there, who is also very ancient. But with the new Yule book, I try to differentiate Yule and Yule, and there's really no difference in the words. It just helps my family understand what I'm planning. But with the full moon Yule, that one, the idea behind it is going to be more of what life was like back then, while keeping it as lighthearted as possible. And it'll be really fun, but a lot of those traditions seem very intense. So I have to figure out a way to make it humble and sweet without sugarcoating it too much.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be for the older kids. I'm still working on it, but
we will watch this space.
Yeah.
Excellent. And do you have any, well, before a final message, where can people find your stuff? Just remind us. I have said it once already for those people that were paying attention, but where do we find information about your books and about you and everything?
You can find everything about me and my books on pagankids.org. All of my links to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok if you really want to go there. And YouTube is all there. All of my articles get posted. I refresh the Wheel of the Year and the pre-Christian holiday blogs annually. So they're easy to find as they're coming up. And then on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, it's just Pagan Kids, PAGANKIDS.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So do you have any final messages for anyone watching this video?
Well, happy Imbolc, first of all. Happy Disting, Displo, and really take care this year of own and see what you can contribute to the world. Excellent.
Thank you very much. Again, thank you very much for taking the time, Jennifer. I know you're very busy, and congratulations on carrying the twins. And I'm sure we will hear more about those maybe later on when we speak next time. So thank you very, very much. And yeah, I also wish you all a happy Imbolc, and thank you all very much for joining us for this chat. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.